Lesson 1. Extracting your avatar's language. The fastest way to write copy that converts is to stop writing your words and start using theirs. But most founders don't know where their buyer's language lives or how to extract it. In this episode, we're going to build a language matrix, a living document of your buyer's exact words, phrases, and metaphors, and then map that directly to your copy's headlines, subheadlines, and calls to action. We'll audit real conversations, extract 30 key phrases, and draft 3 headlines using only what your customer actually says. Let's get into it. Here's the core idea. Your customer has a distinct way of describing their problems, their objections, and their desired outcomes. They use specific nouns, verbs, and metaphors that your marketing should mirror. But you cannot invent this language. You must find it. This lesson covers 3 primary sources: recorded sales calls, customer support tickets, and public conversations in communities like Reddit or Quora. You'll extract phrases, sentences, and patterns. Then you'll learn how to map those directly to your copy's headlines, subheadlines, and calls to action. The goal is not to parrot the buyer. It is to make them feel understood so deeply that they believe you wrote the page just for them. Let's go through the key takeaways for this lesson. First, you cannot invent effective copy from scratch. You must find the words your buyer already uses. Second, sales calls, support tickets, and social media are your primary language mines. Third, the goal is mirroring, not mimicry. You are reflecting their internal state back to them. Fourth, most copy fails because it uses the founder's language, not the customer's. And finally, when you master this, you stop writing copy and start having conversations at scale. There are 2 frameworks we'll use in this lesson. The first is the language audit framework, a 3-step process to systematically find your buyer's exact words. Step 1. Record and transcribe 5 sales calls. Step 2. Compile all customer support inquiries from the last 30 days. Step 3. Search Reddit, Quora, and review sites for phrases. The output is a list of 20 to 30 phrases your buyer uses consistently. The second framework is the mirroring matrix, a copywriting framework that maps buyer language directly to copy components. For each extracted phrase, you assign it to a function, a headline hook, a pain point description, an objection reframe, or a transformation statement. The matrix ensures every part of your copy has a buyer language origin. Your best marketing is buried in conversations you are already having. Every email your customers send, every question they ask on a discovery call, every review they leave on a public forum. Those are the words that will make your next campaign work. The problem is that most founders treat these as data points to be understood rather than language to be used. This lesson flips that. You will build a language extraction workflow. You will end it with a document that contains the exact words, phrases, and sentence structures your buyer uses to describe their problem. Then you will map those to a messaging matrix. This is the foundation everything else rests on. Without this, you are guessing. The output for this lesson is your language matrix. It's the input for lesson 2. Without it, you cannot position your brand or craft a core narrative. Read this entire lesson before you begin. The instruction layers matter. The listening part is not a suggestion. It is the work. All right, let's build your language matrix. Pause the video and grab your printed workbook or a notebook. You'll need to write things down. Step 1. Audit your customer conversations. Gather sources of customer language, recorded discovery calls, sales transcripts, support emails, live chat logs, and public reviews. If you lack these, find competitor reviews, Reddit threads, and Quora answers. Collect at least 10,000 words of real customer dialogue. For example, you might pull from 3 recorded sales calls, 20 support tickets, and 50 reviews of competitors on a site like G2 Crowd. Go ahead and get your sources together now. Step 2. Extract 30 key phrases. Read through your sources and pull phrases that repeat or feel emotionally charged. Look for nouns, the problem they name, verbs, what they are trying to do, adjectives, how they feel, and metaphors, what it reminds them of. For example, you might find a phrase like, "I feel like I'm just guessing from a recorded sales call." Write down the exact phrase and where you found it. Step 3. Build the mirroring matrix. Create 4 columns in a document: headline hook, pain point, objection, and transformation. Place each of your 30 phrases into the column it best serves. Some phrases will fit multiple columns. For example, "I waste so much time" goes in the pain point column, Well, what if I stop guessing? Goes in transformation. Step 4. Draft 3 headline variations. Using only the phrases from the headline hook column, draft 3 different headlines for your main sales page. Write them exactly as your buyer would say them. An example might be, stop guessing who your customer is. Start asking them. Take your time with this. The more thorough you are here, the easier every subsequent lesson will be. Here's your to-do list for Lesson 1. Audit 5 recorded sales calls for recurring phrases. That's about an hour. Compile and read 30 recent support ticket conversations. About 45 minutes. Extract 30 key phrases and map them to the mirroring matrix. Another hour. Draft 3 headlines for your landing page using extracted language. 30 minutes. And review your language matrix against your avatar's psychographic profile. 30 minutes. Completing these tasks gives you your language matrix, the raw materials for every piece of copy in the subsequent lessons. The phrases you extract will power your positioning statement in Lesson 2, your hooks in Lesson 4, and your sales page copy in Lesson 5. If you skip this, every later output becomes generic. Now let's look at a real-world example. Digital marketer found that their client avatar worksheets were producing demographic profiles with no language connection. Marketers would fill in the document, but their copy remained generic. The company was selling a persona building tool, but the real pain was the language gap between research and execution. So they added a language to copy section to the worksheet, forcing users to extract phrases and map them to copy components. The outcome was a 40% reduction in client requests for copy rewrites. Avatar worksheet completion hit 95%, and the time to first draft decreased by 50%. That's what happens when you close the gap between knowing and speaking. Now, let's apply that case to your own situation. Pause and answer these 3 questions honestly. First, where in your current process do you have a language gap like Digital Marketer did? Where is your research not translating to copy? Second, add a language extraction step to your next avatar briefing document. Name 2 sources of customer language you will pull from. And third, what percentage of your copy revisions are caused by misaligned language? If you cut that in half, what changes in your business? Write those answers down. Here are some practical tips to keep in mind as you work through this lesson. The most common way to surface complete this lesson is to generalize phrases into things like, our customer is frustrated. That is not language. Language is exact. I feel like I am just spinning my wheels. Go for the specific. Real completion is when you can read your extracted phrases and hear your buyer saying them in your head. That's when you know you have the right words. The language matrix is the foundation for the entire workbook. The positioning statement you'll write in Lesson 2 depends on having these exact phrases. Avoid the trap of using your own language to describe their problem. If you catch yourself saying leverage or synergy, you are in the wrong zone. The difference between someone who has done this and someone who has not is that the first person's copy feels like a conversation. The second person's copy feels like a corporate statement. Open your workbook to the Lesson 1 worksheet, the language matrix. Pause the video here. In the Sources of Language section, list the 3 most valuable sources of customer language you found. Name the source and why it was valuable. Then, write down 1 word or phrase your buyer used that surprised you, the exact phrase, and describe why it was surprising. In the Mirroring Matrix section, write 1 phrase from each column: hook, pain, objection, and transformation. Be literal, do not paraphrase. Then, draft 1 headline using only the hook phrase. Use the exact words from that column. The phrases you place in the mirroring matrix will be the literal inputs for Lesson 2's positioning statement. If you skip this worksheet, you will have nothing to position. Now, use the progress tracker. Go through each checkpoint. Check customer conversations audited once you've reviewed 5 sales calls, 30 support tickets, or equivalent sources. Check 30 phrases extracted once you've documented 30 specific, verifiable phrases. Check mirroring matrix built when all 4 columns have at least 3 phrases each. And check 3 headlines drafted when those headlines are written using only avatar language. Once you've checked all 4 boxes, you're ready for Lesson 2. And check 3 headlines drafted once your headlines are on paper. Use the calculator to measure the depth of your language extraction. Fill in your value for each metric. For unique sources, count your language sources. The benchmark is 3 or more. For phrases per column, divide your total phrases by 4 columns. You're aiming for 5 per column. For headline variation, count the headlines you've drafted. 3 or more is the benchmark. If you're below any of these, spend another hour on the language matrix before moving on. Here's your exercise for this lesson. Find a recorded conversation with a customer, a sales call, a support ticket email, or a review. Read or listen to it. Write down every phrase that feels charged, specific, or repetitive. Do not edit them. Then write a one-paragraph description of your ideal customer using only those extracted phrases. No editorializing, just their words. Now read it back. Does it sound like you're marketing? If not, this exercise is exactly why this lesson matters. Pause and do it now. Let's reflect. What is one phrase your customer uses that you have been avoiding in your copy? Why have you avoided it? Is it because it feels too direct, too vulnerable, or too specific? Write the exact phrase and describe why you have left it out. For deeper research, read any 10 competitor reviews on G2 or Trustpilot. Note the repeated adjectives and verbs. Then read the brand's own copy. How aligned are they? For further reading, check out Buyer Personas by Adele Revella for a chapter on the voice of customer process. Here's your action for this week. Audit one piece of your current marketing copy, a landing page or email. Circle every word you use that the buyer would not use. Replace them with phrases from your language matrix. Count how many swaps you made. Next time, we take what you just wrote about your buyer's language and turn it into a positioning statement that makes your value obvious.